So we are live, and today is the next to the last game day of June, the Lather games, and it's the 29th, and it's RIP day. It's soaps that have passed on, makers who came and went for various reasons, and the sad thing is there are many that have come and gone because of really bad reasons, um, because they've been such good makers of soap that you really wish they could have stuck around. Maybe they came at the wrong time, maybe the market, maybe they had a family crisis, maybe they, just had a professional issue where they had to focus and switch gears and go another way, and so they didn't have time for this process, this manufacturing process. And so, we've lost some really good soap bases along the way, and of course, we've lost some really good people along the way. But specifically regarding the soap bases, I'm a big fan of Reef Point Soaps, and I'll be using Aviator today. And they had to shut down a couple of years ago, I think. And I had fortunately discovered one of their soaps a year or two prior to that, and so I already had a couple of theirs. Um, and obviously, they've kind of got a military style theme with their stuff. Um, bring up the live stream over here on the Chromebook so that I can pay attention to you guys as you ask questions and things. And so there's a military theme, and so I went with a very revered razor that has graced the hands of our military for decades and decades, a vintage Gillette adjustable. And we call it affectionately the Slim, because the handle is a little skinnier than the Fat Boy, which preceded it. And the head has been redesigned a little bit. It's not as big of a head. The head is actually what's a little slimmer. Most people say that it performs a little better. From the trials that I've done, it might perform a little better, but to me it's not really enough to justify if I prefer the looks of the Fat Boy, which I do, and so I use Fat Boy more often than a Slim, but I always recommend a Slim to anybody who is looking into getting a razor. It's inexpensive. It's less expensive than the Fat Boy because it is more popular. There were more of them made for a longer period of time. The Fat Boy was just 4 years. The Slim was for many years after that. All right, the other piece of hardware we're going to use, the White Knight. This is a White Knight knot, and this is a Jeff Huck handle, tortoise shell. It's gorgeous, but unfortunately, my hands just don't work with this handle very well. It's just too short. And however, the knot here is amazing. It's a cloud. It's all the right things. And so I'm really looking forward to using it. And I noticed that I hadn't used it yet in the games, and so I thought, hey, let's do that. It's a big, like a 30 millimeter, 28 millimeter knot, and it just is so enjoyable. Fill up my jigger with 40 milliliters here. Okay, and then Aviator is like a leather, maybe some gas or something like that. Hey, Peter. Been a while since I used it. It's coming away from the wall just a hair, drying, losing a little bit of moisture. It's just a terrific type scent. Maybe some gas or it's hard to, it's not super strong. My nose is having a hard time picking up what it is. So let us put the blade in the razor. And here we are with the nasset, the N and the 1, little dots. Now, so this is the next to the last shave. A fun word to learn in that context is penultimate. Penultimate means the next to the last. So, what am I going to set this razor on? Lately, I've had such good experiences with this at a mild setting. Exactly, Peter? Yes, sir. I'm going to set it on 3. And I may even lower it down even more when I do the against the grain stroke right there. And the adjustables here, the vintage ones, they do have an extra quarter turn that locks everything in place. I think that's a wonderful feature. To me, it's a tough turn sometimes, and it almost feels like it's going to wear away at the metal prematurely, but I don't think it does. But it's a wonderful way to lock down everything to make sure it doesn't come loose. I've definitely had some Biley razors that you tighten down the barn doors, and they did gradually loosen a little bit during the shave. Well, that's not going to happen with this locking turn that these vintage Gillettes have. The Fat Boy has it also, and the Super, the Black Beauty, has it as well. All right, get my face wet. Oh, the other gear. Take a look at that right quick. Along with, I don't have very many Reef Point post-shave products. When I first found Reef Point, I ordered from the website. It was David James' website. He had a bunch of Reef Point stuff. And I ordered the balms. And they had menthol in them. I ordered 3 balms. I was so disappointed. I put the balms on and it was just too much. The fumes, the sensation wasn't enjoyable for me. And I ended up selling them to somebody else. And now they can't be gotten, because that whole line is gone. But I don't mind. I don't regret that because it was menthol and it was too much for me anyway. But I did manage to come across some splash of Test Depth, which is a nice scent that I've used a few times. And so that's going to be right after the shave. And then I think the leather aspects and the woody notes that are in the Aviator, I think are going to match. We've got Tom Ford vanilla and tobacco. And I believe the Aviator might have a little bit of tobacco in it. And so even though this has a lot of vanilla in it, I'm hoping that it'll do a nice tie-in with the Aviator. So we'll see. The challenge today, thank you, Peter, for keeping me on my toes and making sure. The challenge is to lather up with a soap that has been bloomed. And the reason is today is a tribute to Cadenzer, and that is the username of Michael Freedberg on Reddit. And Michael Freedberg is his name on YouTube. And if you've been around in shaving you for a long time, for any length of time, and watched any videos, you've probably heard about him for such a long time. He had weekly videos that accented products. His reviews were excellent because he would use the same product for the week. And so then his review would be based on several usages. And, I do reviews myself, but I always phrase them as first impressions, that sort of thing, because I until I've used something long enough to give you something decent, right? Well, that's what he brought to the table every time. And he's a fellow North Carolinian, so we kind of have that in common. He's one of the few wet shavers that I've actually met in person. And it was great to meet him. And his style is a little quirky, neat, very knowledgeable. He had a great enjoyment of the European hard soaps, and I'm a big fan of that as well. I'm about to sneeze. Ooh, excuse me. And And so I definitely, I'm a subscriber to him, but more than that, I have recommended a zillion times his 4-part wet shaving tutorial that has been in place for quite some time and is a great reference for new shavers. If I had one wet shaving series to recommend, Mantic 59 is another one that I sometimes recommend, but if I had to pick one, it would easily be Freedberg's 4-part series there. And he doesn't like to bloom his soap. And so to kind of jab him a little bit, today you have to bloom your soap if you want to accomplish the daily challenge. And because he stopped doing his channel, we're kind of pouring one out for him. And so we have been instructed as a daily challenge to bloom your soap with booze. So let's do that. This is the soap Aviator from Reef Point. And I just happen to have El Cheapo bourbon. I don't drink very much at all. I've actually had this for a couple of years. Even my good stuff I've had for a couple, even longer. I've had it for 4 years, and I drink it very slowly. Let's bloom a little bit. There we go. And since this is a soap that is not in production, I kind of think that that was nasty of them to ask us to bloom with alcohol a soap that might be discontinued, you know, because what if it ruins it? So I looked online at some of the other guys who had done it, and everything was fine. So I went ahead and we're going to do it. So you saw me spill all kinds of cheap bourbon all over the sink. You know, why not? All right. Yes. Well, it's alcohol. It's just splash. You know, it's just a splash. So why not? Let's do a pre-wash with bourbon. A little bit is all we need. Yep, sure enough. No sting or anything like that, but I get that bourbon whiff, that cheap bourbon whiff. And there we go. I'm curious, I didn't really get a big bourbon scent or a big alcohol scent, like cognac type scent from the soap. So it would be neat if it added it. This is El Cheapo bourbon, Heaven Hill, old style bourbon, Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey. It's pretty cheap. And so the blooming there is the daily challenge, and so we did that. And then I am going to, all right, there we go. So we are blooming the soap right now. Yeah, I'm feeling it. I'm kind of feeling it in my face. That's interesting. It's like my face has drunk a little bit of alcohol. Okay, see, I'm throwing off my game now with the alteration. You know what? I used to bloom hard soaps. I never bloomed croaks like this, but I used to bloom hard soaps. And gradually, I've noticed that I don't need to do that. Especially if you use them consecutively. But my Williams, I don't bloom anymore. My fine accoutrements, I definitely don't bloom. That's one of the first ones that jumped out at me as, hey man, you don't need to bloom at all. 15 seconds unbloomed, and I've got plenty of soap on my brush. All right, and you know what we're gonna do? We're actually gonna take, oh no, wait, the alcohol can kill the lather. I've gotta pour it out. I can't make that a part of the lather. It'll be really hard to lather up that way. All right, so let's get this wonderful, wonderful big old brush out here. Shook a lot of the water out. Let's load for 30 seconds. We started at 07. 10 seconds. Maybe just 20. We started at 07. Let's go to 20 seconds. I wouldn't be surprised if because of the alcohol, it is causing it to release. Let's just try that. Let's just try a 20-second load. I'll get all the kind of little excess up out of there. I wouldn't be surprised if the alcohol really loosened it up. Let's just try that out. And guys, I watched the most hilarious video today. Kenzykat is Stephen Joyner's wife. She's responsible for the Southern Witchcrafts soaps. He is the dogwood handcrafts end of the business, and he does the brushes. He helps out a little bit with the soaps, from what if I'm remembering correctly. She's mainly the one that does the scents and the soaps and stuff, and so all the kudos for those wonderful soaps mainly goes to her. And I've definitely provided the universe with plenty of kudos for that brand, because it's wonderful. The scents are so creative. I enjoy them so much. She put out a video in today's Lather games. I think it was today. My brain is a little scrambled, so it may have been yesterday, but I'm pretty sure it was today. Yeah, it was. It was. Because she mentioned the RIP theme. And the tip-off was when she did her Shave of the Day post. And it was in my style. She borrowed my template and copied over the text with her text that was relevant to her shave. But all the formatting and a lot of the verbiage, the little mannerisms that I use, she copied, and that was a tip-off that there was more coming. And sure enough, she did a video. It was hilarious. I haven't replied to the video yet because it deserves more than just an LOL. It deserves more than just a holy cow, that was awesome, you know. And just so funny. I laughed. She starts off by going, this is Splenda Mommy, not Sugar Daddy, Splenda Mommy, right? Hilarious. And the funny thing was, I listened to maybe the first 5 minutes of it. Yeah, it is. I will. I'll put a link to it in the body of this, in the description of this video. And Splenda Mommy. I watched part of it, but I missed that the first time, and then I went back to resume the video, and it went back and started at the beginning, and I thought, oh man, that's frustrating. But then I thought, wait a minute, there might have been parts I missed, and sure enough, I had missed the Splenda Mommy reference because she said it really quickly, and I was watching while I was doing something else. While I was driving, I had it going, and so I'm sure my attention was on driving for the most part, but I was listening carefully, and I did rewind and listen again, but it was just hilarious. She picked out so many of my mannerisms. It's just nuts. If you go over to Reddit and you go to Lather Game Shave the Day for today, the 29th, and you do a find for Kenzykat, Kenzykat, find her post, and then there will be, just like in my normal post, there's a gear photo, and then there's a video. And so click on that video link, and there you go. And holy cow, it was so funny. I was just laughing. I was going crazy. She picked out some of my little mannerisms, many of them, and it was so funny. Precise measuring, and what they did was they took it, and I'm sure Stephen Joyner had a hand in this as well. They took it, and they actually clipped the video together, you know, they were spent some time in putting together this little thing, and she had a lab coat on because of the precision. She had this old rusty blade that she was talking about using, and she was talking about how it was great because it was on its like 5,000th shave, and you know, you just don't know what you're missing until you get that blade past 1,000 shaves. And bragging about how there weren't any more burrs on the blade, and she even put the blade under a microscope and showed the rusty, jaggedy nature. Hey Seth, hey Seth. And it was just so funny. And I just enjoyed it. I grinned the whole time, and probably for a couple hours after. It was just tremendous. Well, this lather looks awesome. This is, when I used this lather for the first time years ago, I said that this really should be higher, much higher in the standings of the better soaps out there. It should be really chasing at the heels of the top tier. The base is just so good in terms of at least what I look for in a base. Get my face wet. And so I know I'm going to enjoy using this today. And this, look at this big old bloom. Oh, just tremendous. Sometimes when a brush that you're used to really enjoying in a soft capacity feels a little less soft, could be because you over watered your lather. And that could have been what I did right now. It could have been the alcohol and stuff. It's kind of killing the lather, but don't fall, good lather. Oh, she had so many of my mannerisms. It was just so enjoyable. Oh, she was talking about how she had been with her lab coat on and measuring teaspoons of soap into the bowl. She was talking about how, you know, those are some of the things she was doing, but she was talking about how YouTube had contacted her saying that they were running out of space, and she could no longer do 3-hour lather videos anymore. Oh man, it was so great. And all right. So, Slim, here we go. Very comfortable. I love to watch those kind of videos because so often they let me know of some habits and mannerisms that I may have adopted that I don't know about. And sometimes I might adjust my style if I think, well, that's kind of annoying. I don't think I really picked up anything from her this time. There we go. Very nice. We can take that and just kind of do a little bit more work in this area. Very comfortable. Not tugging at all. Nice and slick. Creamy, wonderful creaminess here. And rinse. And kenzykat mentioned in the the post that she said she was just kind, friendly things she said, and it was really neat. And and then at the end of the video, you know, it was like, you know, we heart you, Sugar Daddy, and I really appreciate that. They're such good folks, and I just had such a great time watching that. Um, I really enjoy their products because they have a couple of features about their stuff that are right in my wheelhouse. Their scents are almost never too weak. And there's so many soap makers out there that I wish were stronger, were more like Southern Witchcrafts in that stance. Cross grain now. Their performance is terrific, even if you were to compare them against tallow soaps. And one of the other main things that I love about them is their creativity. So often they are putting together some amazing and interesting combinations. Earthy, dirty scents. Ah, Peter, roger that. Hey, Zesty. Zesty, did you see in the Lather Games thread today, did you see Kenzykat's Sugar Daddy mention? Oh my goodness. She did a write-up in the form of mine, and she did a video in kind of my style, taking it to a great exaggeration. It was so good. Ah, Chewbacca is here. Yes, welcome, sir. Oh man, it's been a great time, and you know we haven't read all the great stuff. I mean, many of us have seen the highlights and stuff, and yeah, it's been a great time this year. So setting 3 with a smoothed out blade is that's 2 passes, and it's really reduced my stubble more than you might think. Definitely not as much as a newer blade. Mr. Fernandez, yes sir. One more day. I will be glad to get back on my normal schedule where I'm going to have more time in the evenings to get sleep. So this is a White Knight brush with a handle by Jeff Huck, and I love it. Lather is back to behaving normally. I think that alcohol in the beginning from the daily challenge might have given it a little bit of grief. All right, and a matter of fact, coincidentally, we're talking about kenzykat doing the little Sugar Daddy style video, and tomorrow I'm going to be using Southern Witchcrafts because it's the fall out of the Lather Games. I'm going to be using a fall scent, and there's no better place to find something like that than several different options from Southern Witchcrafts. Cross grain again. Very comfortable shave today. And she kept saying, a couple times she said, nice, you know, that's nice. And I wonder, that might be one of my Mazarisms. That's the one that could be a thing that I do that I don't know that I do. Okay, I'm going to go the cross grain from this direction now. So we're using a slim because I just respect that razor so much. I recommend it often. And so I wanted to make sure that that razor was in the Lather Games. But I was saying about Southern Witchcrafts and their scents. Tell you what, they have some neat ones that are so creative. Pomona has this neat, like apple and wine type scent going on. Oh, it's amazing. Now, unfortunately, when I tried it before, that that combination was kind of lost. Maybe it was a top note, and so it burned off quickly. I'm not sure, but by the time I got it into lather form, that particular note was gone. Um, but it was so creative. Never smelled anything like it before, and I so enjoyed it. And so many of the other scents are along that same vein, just different, creative, and so nice. Sometimes somebody does something creative and you admire it just because it's creative and just because it's unique, and you don't really admire it because it's actually good. Um, or at least good in your eyes, or in this case, good to your nose. But the stuff they're making at Southern Witchcrafts, by and large, has just been so good to my nose, and many of the different pieces that they do. Um, and for a while there, they were inexpensive, so they were a great way for people to get into the hobby with a good quality soap with some interesting scents without breaking the bank. They upgraded their formula, and so I think they had to raise their prices a little bit, but still, competitively priced. Um, and they had one anthropophagy that I tried. Um, it was so neat um, how it really went along a storyline, or at least that was my interpretation of it. Seth, I've read a little bit about the new one. I'm hesitant about pulling the trigger. I might. I might. It kind of sounds really good. It really does. Um, the anthropophagy really took me on a trip, and in the beginning, it was seeming like something usual, but then it switched. And it switched characteristics, and these other notes that I really enjoyed came in halfway through the shave, and it was such a neat experience to watch it happen that it just took me on this wonderful trip, and not a lot of soaps do it that well. It was just terrific. All right, yeah, we're getting some nice reduction here. We did not make a ton of lather today, but we did make enough. Most of it's on my shirt, but I think we made enough to get the job done. I stopped after 20 seconds of loading because of the way the brush looked. And in retrospect, next time I'll do the full 30. So we'll just kind of do a fourth pass here, just to kind of trim everything up. And then I'll probably be able to use some of the extra lather for my against the grain work. Man, it's really been fun doing. Oh man, this is so effortless and slick. Again, focusing on a very light touch. I can go really fast because the cutting has been done. It's a smoothed out blade. And I've done it so many times. All right, now let's tweak her down to a 2. I like to unlock the razor before I switch it. You don't have to. I've heard from some pretty authoritative people, but I do anyway. I just feel better doing that. Okay. That's a piece of cake. That feels pretty good. It's not being painful at all. That's a really, really nice against the grain stroke, and I'm going directly against the grain. I'm not hedging my bets by coming at it from different angles. That is one of the best uses. And so I can even go in, get a little bit more soap, the last of the soap, the last of the lather, and there we go. What a wonderful razor. And the shave feels great. And like I said, this soap is just tremendous. And Chewbacca was on a second ago, and he's the one I won the auction with the Midnight Stag. So I'll get that full set. I don't think I've ever had the bar soap for Midnight Stag, so looking forward to that. And the cologne is going to be awesome. So and that'll be a lot of fun come August. Cool, Seth. Seth likes the adventure story with the scents as well. That's really nice. Zesty says, yes, I do, Zesty, have some Bear Stearns Man Reserve soaps. I've got Spice and Cool and Lavender. I don't have, if I had the Classic, I think I sold it. I think that there's maybe one more. There's one more that's like a, no, that would have been a Lavender. Anyway, yeah, Zesty, and you're exactly right. My experience is the same as yours. It is tricky to lather. When I first started using it, I think I liked my lathers a little too dry, and it did that very well and had a silky feeling. But now that I like my lathers more wet, I find that it's tricky because it's either too dry and I keep adding water, and then bam, it's too wet. That little fine line just seems to be so hard to nail down. Will did a video on how to lather the Reserve with a couple of face latherers on a table, and yeah, Zesty, mine comes out too thin when I put as much water in it as I want. Totally agree. Now I did a thing several months ago where I had my Bear Stearns Man Spice, and I did 4 or 5 shaves in a row with it because I was just trying to chase that down. I was trying to nail that Reserve lather, because for a while, because of that silky feeling I had with it at first, I was putting that kind of above at, near the top for my preferred bases. And then I reevaluated it, used it, and I was really, wait a minute, that one doesn't belong there. I'm not able to get it to work like I used to. And I think it's because my preferences have changed. Yeah, exactly, Zesty. Will did make that look very easy. And they were using synthetics. I don't think that makes too much of a difference, but I think somebody said something about Reserve in that it needs to be activated. It needs water to activate the soap, and so that's why I think it's too dry for a while, because it doesn't have enough water to activate. And that may not be an accurate word, but it kind of resembles what is going on maybe. But then once you get enough water, it seems like it kind of washes it out. And so in a way, that would be a great one to use for austere August, to maybe play around with, to try to tame it and figure out the best process for it. But to be honest, I kind of quit back when I was doing Spice before, because I thought there are so many other soaps that I like to use. I don't really want to sacrifice time with them just to figure out Reserve. And so I quit on that one. Yeah, Seth sent me a picture of his new brush. That that color, kind of a sky blue color, not really a match for me. Of course, that's the kind of thing you were talking about, how it looks different colors depending on how the light hits it. And of course, many times photos just can't capture that. And so we have to leave that as it is, where there's probably some awesomeness that you just can't see through the photos. But that shape they have for that one, what is it, Oku, OKU, is the maker of that one. Seth was telling me about that yesterday, a custom brush he had done. And that handle that he chose um, looks really, really nice. It looks ergonomic. I think it would fit my hand really well as well. And so it's a classic, nice shape for the handle. And I think it's just going to be a terrific brush. They are on the pricey side, $170 to $200. Um, but you know, once there get to be some reviews out there to compare it to other ones of that same price range, you know, it might be a terrific buy if it's comparable to some of those others that are out there. Hey Daniel, very well, you found us. um, and so yes, Seth, I think that sounds like it's going to be a really nice brush for you, and especially that shape. I like that shape because it lets your finger nestle in that saddle part. But you might keep your fingers a little, it might be far enough away to where your fingers don't get super dirty, I mean, super lathery and messy and stuff. So it looks like a really cool brush. Um, and I'm looking forward to hearing news about how that one works for you, and you can compare it to some of the other brushes because there's definitely not been a lot of talk about that brand um, in the shaving areas of the world, internet world where I've been around. So it'll be neat. All right, so the nice thing here, I've been sitting here with this Reef Point soap just rinsed off my face. There's no shrinking, there's no drying, no, my face doesn't tingle or anything like that. It's just kind to my face. It's one of the benefits of having it be so wet. So how much water did we use in our lather? It was just a little, well, no, I'm not going to say it was a little too much. It was 25 milliliters. And kenzykat with her video, she took out a syringe and she measured out like 0.1 teaspoons. You know, it was crazy, some minute amount. You know, and oh man, it was just so good, so good. All right, so let's do the Reef Point soaps. So we did the daily challenge today, and this is test depth. We did the daily challenge of blooming with booze in honor of Cadenza, and I look forward when we can meet again. We met in 2019, and it was a great event. Took my son. We had a great time. Now this stuff definitely has plenty of menthol and alcohol. Daniel, man, I'm really glad to hear that. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I'm glad to help. Just kind of passing on the wisdom that I've gained from other people. I'm glad it's helping you. Thank you so much for your kind words. Test depth doesn't have tons of scent that's jumping out at me right now. It almost has a little zesty element to it. Of course, the menthol could be interfering just a touch. And then we're going to switch gears big time with the tobacco and vanilla scent, and I'm hoping that the tobacco ties in with like the soap, the Aviator soap. Yeah, the strength of the soap there was kind of minimal. I think maybe it had to do with the booze that we used, but it was nice. It was enjoyable, and of course, it was great base. So test depth there. Let's look at the. Oh, nice. That's a nice close cut. So the slim, excellent worker with the Nasset blade. Very cool. Very cool. All right. So there's a guy, and he has some YouTube videos and stuff, and can Captain Morgan. I can't remember what his name is, and I know he does it with fat boys. And if you ever need to maintain your razors or take them apart, then there are some videos out there, and he had to even make some special tools, like right here. You have to actually kind of uncrimp the little end there to make it come out so you can take everything apart. And these vintage Gillettes do have, yeah, this one is an I3. And so it's the third quarter of whatever year the I was. And it's just a wonderful little general purpose razor. It can be aggressive. And today we proved shaving on setting 2. I got a wonderful against the grain experience here. So just terrific. We'll wipe out the threads of the Aviator container here. If anybody has any last questions, go ahead and post them. Ah, that's a good scent. Man, I hope that as I look for my lid, I hope that it's on the floor. Hope that I don't end up with a bunch of soaps that have lost their scent because of time. That's one of the main things I'm thinking about with my huge collection. If I notice that, then it's time to, start, sell them off or, something like that, because you definitely don't want it to go unfulfilled when it can be in somebody else's den being used, Maybe vacuum seal some of them to preserve some of the scent. I think that should work, right? All right, let us put the Haverford. And of course, if you don't know where the name Haverford came from, it's the name of Tom Haverford, a fictional character in the Parks and Recreation TV show. And it's a hilarious show. And it's Tom Ford is the maker of the cologne, the tobacco and vanilla cologne, and this is inspired by that. And so it's from that character, and kind of that's the kind of thing he might wear. And it's hilarious and a great smell as well. I've worn it a few times this week, just putting it on at various times of the day when my other would wear off. Oh, somebody yesterday told me a question. They asked how long the Stirling colognes were lasting. And I can tell you that what I put on last night, 24 hours ago, was, which one was it? It was EMP. It was the one that kind of a woody pineapple, a warm woody pineapple, very pineapple-y at first, but then that burns off and you get this nice mellow scent for quite a while. 14 hours later, I could still smell it on my wrists. It was still, yes, sir, IMSMS, sort of, yes, sir, we are live on the phone. Yes, sir. That EMP scent, it was still around. I was working at my computer, putting my hands up, to think, and then it would come to me again. And so I've been very happy so far with the strength and the longevity of the Stirling colognes. Very happy with those. All right. Yeah, after I hit 1,000 subscribers, what Sora was mentioning there, after I hit 1,000 subscribers, that was when YouTube was going to think about letting me in to be able to stream right from my phone. And it took about 100 more subscribers, maybe a week before they actually, let me do it. So it's really, really pretty neat. It's super convenient, and I think it brings better quality video to you guys. Seth, the sub is wet shaving. So it'd be /r/wet shaving. And then look for the thread that says the 29th and Lather Games 2021 official SOTD thread. And then the person's name is kenzykat. Of course, if you go to Reddit and you type her name to look up, it's probably in her recent activity. That may be the quickest way to get to it. kenzykat, KenzyKat is the user. She's the brain and the effort behind the soaps from Southern Witchcraft. kenzykat, hilarious. And I appreciate it so much. They're wonderful, wonderful people, and funny and creative and clever, and I just love the soaps that they make. Just terrific. All right, I'm enjoying that tobacco and vanilla. Everything's working out really well. The test depth was not anything like the tobacco and vanilla, but they are working really well together. The test depth has some citrus, kind of oceanic, not very heavy, and so the what's on my wrist is the tobacco and vanilla. That brings some of the weight and the warmth, and so those two are kind of combining, and they're working really well together. Seth, thank you so much. Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you. All right, well, I think we can wind it up. Let's take our little card here. So we've got 405. Let's put the 06 on there. And tomorrow will be the last shave of the Lather games. We did do the daily challenge today. Got that done. Thank you, Peter, for reminding me. And so we bloomed with the bourbon. We used El Cheapo bourbon. I wasn't sure how it would react and stuff. And at first in my mind, I was actually, the main reason I used the El Cheapo stuff was because I thought I was actually going to use it with the brush as the liquid for the lather. But then as I was starting to do it, I realized, wait a minute, the alcohol is going to kill the lather and not let it work itself up. And so then I had to abandon that plan. Otherwise, I would have brought the good stuff. Well, the mediocre stuff. I don't have any good stuff. All right. Well, again, this brush, this White Knight, is a neat piece. I don't know very much about those knots that Jeff Huck was using. I just know this one's called the White Knight. The tips are not they're not jelly or anything like that, but they're very soft. If the lather gets super thin, then you do start feeling the tips a little bit. But it's one of those where it's got an easy splay and it's very wide though. And so even though some parts are splaying, there's still plenty to be on you and to where you really enjoy the experience. So it's quite a luxury feel. And the short stubby handle didn't really give me too much problem this time. Pretty cool. All right. I'll take it. All right, my friends. It has been wonderful being with you tonight. It's time to go write up this thing, and it's always been an effort to this month to prep, to gather up things together. When I went back to my house this weekend, I had to pack up 4 sets of gear or 5 sets of gear, just in case that I was there because of unexpectedness, you know. And sure enough, I did need that, and so it's been a lot of work. I took pictures of my sets so that I know how to put things together, you know, and then doing the write-ups. And so it's definitely gonna be nice when I can relax a little bit and enjoy the shaves a little bit more, have the write-ups happen the next day instead of the night of. But there's also something it's inside that says you're gonna miss it. You're gonna miss the ride, the intensity, the nature of the games, because you just never know what's going to happen. I haven't yet listened to the podcast from, I think they usually put it out on Sunday. I haven't listened to it yet. That's always an enjoyable part of the event here. I went into my prize list. Hopefully I might get a prize this year. It'd be great. And I ordered some of them, but I got to finish that part off. And that's always fun, right? It's like I've been comparing it to the Sears Wish Book, you know, the Toys R Us catalog we had when we were growing up, where you just wrote down all the things you wanted, right? And you dog ear the pages and give it to your parents, or you write down a sheet of paper all the things with the page numbers, you know. Pretty cool. All right, guys, I'm going to pack up just a little bit here, and then we'll give anybody a chance to say hi before they go, and then we'll shut her on down. It's been terrific. I'm going to miss it. I'll definitely do, now that I have the ability to easily do live shaves now, not having to tote my Chromebook into the bathroom. I will definitely be making sure those become a regular part of my shave routine. It'll be really enjoyable to continue that on. And now that I can also do posts online, I can maybe let you guys know when they're coming, with some advance notice. Peter, yes, sir. Yes, sir. We had an early broadcast last Saturday, and that's the one Peter missed. I'll bet you'll get I bet you'll get the one for tomorrow. It's been great having you, man. As always, with big old thick badgers like this, make sure you just rinse them extra much. Got to get that soap from the core. Sort of. I don't know if I can do 1080p live stream or not. Um, does my phone have options here? Oh, hey, I can mute my microphone. That's cool. Like if I'm going to cough, like right now. I'll have to look into that. Is that I mean, do people really need to see my hair follicles in 1080p? Is that advantageous in some way? What's my resolution currently? I don't really know what it might be. Am I coming in 720p right now? I would guess maybe something like that. And then this guy, we just dropped him on the... okay, thank you. 720p now. I bet I could do it at at the higher rating if I manage to flip the phone around, because right now this is using the selfie camera so that I see the screen of the image. I'd have to figure out a way to have it on like a tripod or something, and then I wouldn't really be able to see the screen quite as much. But I think that would use the forward-facing camera, which I'm sure would be the 1080p. The test depth is working really well with the Haverford. It's adding some interest, some brightness to the Haverford. The Zesty says, "Gotta watch your shaves on my 96-inch TV." There we go. Yeah, gotcha. Okay, cool. Thank you, Sora. Appreciate that. Good to know. Thank you for the technical info. Yeah, I don't need to be in 1080p. Oh my God. Oh, remember that story from last year? Oh man, who was it? Was it Hiva? Who was it that sat down to watch the shave stuff with his family, um, or something, and then all of a sudden, some some picture comes across the screen that should have been marked as a certain type of thing so that you would avoid it, and everybody was everybody was shocked. It was tremendous. Oh man, it was crazy. Man, another great pairing that I've discovered, because the Haverford is kind of heavy, warm, it's thick, and so the test depth is lighter, almost like an aquatic nature to it by nature of the brand. Yeah, it does make sense. But a little bit of citrus. Oh man, and it's working so nicely with the Tom Ford. Pretty cool with the tobacco vanilla. Nice. I love it when I stumble across little happy things like that. All right, guys, I think we'll turn it on off. It's awesome to be with you. And we look forward to one more time tomorrow with the Lather games, and that'll be fun. It is Fall into Lather games is the theme, and it'll be autumn or winter scents. And so those are always fun. So take care now. We'll see you next time. This is Sugar Daddy Shaves, and I hope that there's been something in this video to help you out in your shaving journey. Take care. Bye.